Hi and welcome back to another little episode of our Total Roaster series. Today we are going to be on bread sauce. How is an episode on bread sauce 10 minutes long? Hi, my name's John. I'm not a chef, I'm not an amazing cook, but I can kind of get by. As a wedding videographer, I found myself with very little to do during the old coronavirus lockdown. So, along with making dinosaur films with the kids, I decided to have a crack at this. So what I'm going to do is take you through some of my favourite recipes, whether it be books or online, maybe show you a few tips and tricks, a few corners that we can maybe cut, and if we can, any ways to maybe save a few calories. So welcome to John Cooks Stuff. So we're delving into this book today. That's Delia Smith's Complete Cookery Course. It is just a book. She doesn't actually pop out and present a course. That would be pretty magic though. Anyway, God knows how old this is. It's a new edition for the 1990s, so it's got a few years in it. Who knows, if I can find a copy of it, I'll post a link underneath. Anyway, onto the bread sauce. Now, I used to use packet bread sauce all the time. I used to really quite like it. I went for the Schwartz Extra Special or whatever it was, and I tricked myself into thinking it was extra special. And then it's one of those recipes when you make it a bread sauce for yourself the first time, you kind of never go back. So if you do like the packet sauces and are very lazy, don't make this because you will not go back, trust me. Alrighty, so anyway, so we have a couple of stages in this. First of all, grab ourselves an onion. I'm using kind of roughly about half quantities of what Delia is using. So I'm going to use half an onion. Right, and keep the other half for that's our little thing we're coming up with next. So, don't need to chop this, just cut the end off it and take the skin off. Nice and simple. Oh no, it's going to be a strong one. Oh, nightmare. Come on, don't. Skin's off. Cool. And now next in, super important, definitely have to leave this in, is cloves. So you want to stud your onion with cloves. Now, depending on how much you like cloves, that'll depend. What I tend to do is I usually put about between 8 and 10. So stud fairly well down the onion, because you want to make sure that's going to soak into the milk mixture. Right. Oh, onion, Mr. Strength. Oh, okay, so let's gather up our little cloves here, pop them back, don't waste your cloves. Well, do. The life of a clove is cheap, let's not kid ourselves. Right, fire you into pan. And what we're going to do here, just going to cover, well I say cover, going to add in, now this is 250 mils. What I would do, to be honest, is if you're going to do anything, I would use less milk than the recipe suggests. Because if it comes out too thick, you can easily add a bit more milk. But if it comes out too thin, it's a bit of a pain to sort of try and add some more bread in. Anyway, what we do is if you can get your gas string to work, maybe there you go. Poof, pungent. Cool, fire him on. What I'm going to do is ignore all my own advice and put some more milk in anyway. Now you want to just let that come to the boil. As soon as it's boiled, turn it off and we'll get back to that in a sec. Okay, as I say, let's get that milk up to boiling. I always like to keep a clean worktop if possible. I know it doesn't look like that a lot of the time, but as the milk is doing its thing, may as well make a bit of an effort. Tell you what, as we're waiting for that to do its thing, let's move on to the bread part of things. Now, most recipes you'll find will ask you for stale bread that's been left out for 2 days or whatever. That doesn't matter, to be honest. I'm going to use a food processor blender to mash this stuff up. So if you've only got, say, a hand grater, then yes, you will want it pretty stale. But if you have got a food processor, I wouldn't even bother. All I really do, and it also says to remove the crusts. I don't bother with that. So what I've got here is 3 slices of just general white medium-sized bread. I'm probably not going to need all 3, but again, you know, if your mixture is looking too thin, and it's just going to be a pain to get the food processor out and deal with that. So let's get ourselves a little side supply. Let's introduce Mr. Blender into the equation. Right, we do, as I say, just roughly chop these up, fire them in. I can already tell that's going to be way too much bread, but hey ho. Better safe than sorry. Ooh. Catch it, kill it, bin it. Right. This is going to be slightly unsafe, but give it a jiggle. There you go, job done. Right. As I said for the kind of introduction to the Total Roaster series, the great thing about roast is you can kind of do little bits as the day goes on. I mean, roasts are simple, but they can be quite time intensive. So the more you can get done, I mean, another great thing about this bread sauce recipe, if you're up for it, you know, you can make a big old batch of it, and it can be frozen. So another bit of time-saving tip on the day. Just takes one more process out of the equation. You can't argue with that. That is, yeah, it's way too much bread. Anyway, let's not mind about that. How are we getting on, milk? Give him a little sugar to help him along. Whew, smell the cloves coming off that. Oh man, yeah, quite strong. So yes, let's just let him get up to speed. Alrighty, as you can see, some milk is starting to boil. So let's turn him off. And we have got 2 bay leaves to fire into the mix. Just if you've got it's a big bay leaf, just use one, but one little ones outside. Now you might use about sort of 8 peppercorns. I don't have any, so I'm just going to fire in a little bit of coarsely ground pepper, not too much. And what I'll do is once that's finished, I will just sieve it. Keep your breadcrumbs aside. They are final stage stuff. And all you need to do, cover your pan, stick it over there, and leave that for around 2 hours for everything to infuse. Cool. Okay, so that's our milk now had its 2 hours, so let's sieve him off. As I always do with these things, I'm going to record little bits and pieces whilst I'm actually cooking a roast meal, so chaos is starting to build, but here we go. Right, so you smell it's really nice actually. Got a vaguely Christmassy smell to it, which might put you off to be fair. Wouldn't blame you. So there we go. Just drain all that off. But we're going to keep that pan. Just want to basically rinse out the little peppercorns that I've got stuck in there. And let's have a little taste of it. Possibly maybe a little bit intense, so absolutely no problem at all. As I said, when you start making it, I'd be a bit cautious and put less milk than you think, and you can always add a little bit later. Difficult to take away. That should be fine. So basically what we're doing here was with the amazing amount of breadcrumbs that I've made, feed some ducks. Don't. Bread not good for ducks. It's too many breadcrumbs, but let's crack on. So yes, we had about basically 2.5 slices of white bread in there. I reckon we're lucky to get half of that in, but we shall see. All we do is just drizzle him in. It will soak it up pretty quickly, so as I say, if you make it too thick, just add some more milk in. One of the reasons I've got so many breadcrumbs is that if it does go too thin, then it's a pain to get back, so make sure you've got some in reserve quickly ready to rock. Take a guess at that, and what we'll do is just leave that to come to heat, and as it heats up then it will thicken, and we'll have a better idea of what we've got. So we can probably just get a touch more bread into that. That'll do it. Pretty decent, but what all bread sauce needs to finish is butter. Yay! Hooray for butter! Again, if you want to save some calories in this one, just avoid making it. It's probably for the best. Many carbs, much fat, a bit of dairy in there. In terms of how much butter that is, you're probably talking 10 grams maybe a little bit less. Or more, who knows? That's definitely more than 10 grams. But stir him in, and for me this is just totally vital and adds amazing richness to the sauce, as butter does to every sauce. That's why many chefs have butter hanging from their every orifice. A touch of salt in there, not much. Again, with sauces that are very, there's not much volume, always good to just a little bit of salt, test it. You can always add more, impossible to take away. So there you go, bread sauce, nice and simple. Just take a little bit of time. Time isn't just leaving it sit there, you don't have to actually do anything. As I said, you know, a roast it's not a complicated thing, but it can take a lot of time. Little things like this, get this done in the morning. If you've got like a spare 5-10 minutes, get it sorted out. It's just sitting there ready to be heated towards the end. So, and I say, yep, you can do a big batch of it, freeze it in batches. Awesome. So homemade bread sauce, done and dusted.